What if the very thing you crave the most is the very thing making you weaker? In the modern world, comfort is not merely a luxury, it has become an expectation. We walk through climate-controlled buildings, tap a screen to summon food to our doors, and outsource physical effort to machines. We no longer wait, we no longer strain, and we rarely endure. And yet, for all this comfort, why does anxiety grow? Why do we feel less in control? And why does even mild inconvenience feel like a crisis? The conventional answer is to seek even greater convenience, to eliminate every possible discomfort from our lives. But what if that is exactly what is hollowing us out from the inside? What if we are building palaces that double as cages? So, before we pull back the curtain, take a moment to support our work with a like and subscribe, but only if you are ready to explore the truths hidden in plain sight. Invite viewers to post their reflections in the comments. Now, let's begin our descent into the core of the issue. Centuries ago, the Roman philosopher Seneca warned that comfort breeds fragility. He lived in an empire where the elite, much like today's affluent classes, surrounded themselves with luxury, believing it to be the mark of a good life. But Seneca, steeped in Stoic philosophy, saw danger in this. Comfort, he argued, does not fortify, it sedates. It strips away the very qualities that help a person stand upright when fortune turns against them. The truth is, comfort and resilience are enemies. Resilience is born from strain, from the friction of facing resistance and learning to adapt. Remove the resistance, and the muscle, whether of the body or of the mind, atrophies. You see this in modern health. An abundance of calories and a shortage of movement lead to physical decline. But the same principle operates invisibly in the mind. Without intellectual or emotional challenges, we lose the capacity to endure frustration, uncertainty, or loss. Today's world amplifies this problem. Every product, app, and service is designed to remove effort. Companies advertise frictionless experiences as the ultimate achievement, and we buy in without questioning the cost. But there is always a cost. When we don't have to think through a problem, navigate difficulty, or face delay, we also lose the mental calluses that protect us when life delivers an unfiltered blow. Visually, this is represented by a hand that once gripped rough stone now lying open, pale and unmarked, in a bed of silk. What's worse, this softening is self-reinforcing. The more we avoid discomfort, the more alien and threatening it feels. A cold morning becomes unbearable, a long line feels unjust, an unexpected bill feels catastrophic. We become less capable, less autonomous, and because we live in systems that protect us from the immediate consequences of this fragility, social safety nets, automation, endless entertainment, we can go years without realizing how ill-prepared we are for true difficulty. This is why Seneca's insight remains so dangerous and so necessary. The comfort trap doesn't just weaken individuals, it weakens civilizations. Rome's own decline was marked by decadence, lavish games, imported luxuries, a citizenry less willing to fight for survival because survival seemed guaranteed. It's a pattern that history repeats, and the modern world is no exception. Our enemies, whether foreign powers or life's own cruel randomness, are not softened by our conveniences. They remain as sharp and relentless as ever. To understand how to escape this trap, we must first accept a harsh truth. Resilience is not a default human setting. It is a cultivated trait, one that requires the deliberate exposure to hardship. This is where Seneca's remedy begins, a practice so counterintuitive to the modern mind that it sounds almost absurd. And yet, it may be the only way to reverse the decay we have normalized. Seneca's answer to the creeping weakness of a comfort-saturated life was not to renounce all pleasure or to live in constant deprivation. Instead, he prescribed something sharper, more deliberate, voluntary hardship. This was the Stoic practice of stepping willingly into discomfort, not because life had forced it upon you, but because you chose it while still having the option to retreat. To a modern audience, this can sound masochistic, even performative. Why sleep on the floor when there's a perfectly good bed? Why wear coarse, itchy clothing when your wardrobe offers soft fabrics? Why eat meager, bland meals when abundance is a click away? Seneca would have answered, because comfort without contrast becomes invisible, and when it disappears you will break. This was not mere theory for him. As a wealthy Roman senator and advisor to emperors, Seneca could have drowned in luxury. But the Stoics understood that fortune is a fickle master. If you wish to have peace of mind, Seneca counseled, do not become accustomed to luxury. The point was not moral purity, it was strategic self-preservation. By periodically living as though you had lost everything, you would discover two things. First, that you could survive without those comforts, and second, that you feared them less. In practice, voluntary hardship served as controlled exposure therapy for the soul. The same way a blacksmith tempers steel through fire and water, the Stoics believed character was tempered by deliberate trials. Seneca might fast for several days while still having a feast available, wear simple tunics instead of expensive togas, or travel without attendants to test his independence. This training prepared him for the day when such conditions might no longer be optional. Visually, this is represented by a man standing in a lavish banquet hall, turning his back on the feast, and stepping into a cold, dimly lit courtyard. Applied to our age, this concept is revolutionary. We are conditioned to avoid even minor inconvenience, using GPS instead of learning routes, ordering pre-cut vegetables instead of chopping them, seeking instant digital distraction instead of enduring boredom. Voluntary hardship would invert this conditioning. It might mean taking cold showers in the morning, walking instead of driving, going a week without streaming entertainment, or practicing digital silence by turning off your phone for a day. The specifics matter less than the principle. Train in discomfort before discomfort trains you. The genius of Seneca's method is that it not only prepares you for crisis, but also sharpens your appreciation for the present. Modern life's relentless abundance dulls gratitude. A warm bed feels like nothing special until you've spent a night without it. A hot meal becomes background noise until hunger reintroduces its value. By intentionally stepping down from your comforts, you renew the mind's ability to savor them. Moreover, voluntary hardship strengthens something even rarer in the modern psyche: agency. When you willingly face discomfort, you remind yourself that you are not merely a consumer of comfort, but a chooser of conditions. You control your relationship to ease and difficulty. This subtle shift in self-perception is an antidote to the helplessness many feel when systems fail, when the power goes out, when supply chains falter. It is not about enjoying the collapse, it is about not fearing it. And yet, this practice remains almost invisible in our culture. Fitness influencers speak of pushing limits, but often in pursuit of vanity rather than resilience. Minimalist trends flirt with the idea, but more as an aesthetic than a discipline. Seneca's voluntary hardship is neither a performance nor a brand. It is a private, inner contract between you and your future self. You train now so that, when the storm comes, you will not be learning how to swim while already underwater. The danger of neglecting Seneca's discipline lies in the invisible architecture of the modern world. A system so meticulously engineered to insulate us from risk that it fosters the illusion of permanence. We live inside a web of technologies, supply chains, institutions, and policies designed to shield us from unpredictability. Food appears on store shelves year-round, power surges into our homes without interruption, and digital services deliver instant gratification without us seeing the machinery behind them. It feels safe, it feels stable, but this is the most seductive lie of all. Seneca, observing the shifting fortunes of Rome, would have recognized the pattern. The empire's roads, aqueducts, and grain shipments created a level of comfort that convinced citizens their prosperity was eternal. But history shows that even the most robust systems falter. Crops fail, borders crumble, leaders falter, and nature refuses to be tamed. In his time, as in ours, those most dependent on stability are those most devastated when it fails. Visually, this is represented by a towering glass skyscraper with hairline fractures spreading silently through its foundation. The modern parallel is unsettling. In cities, most people have no idea how to grow food, purify water, or survive without constant internet access. Digital payment systems, power grids, and global trade networks operate as invisible lifelines, sever them, and the shock is instant. The global pandemic revealed just how quickly shelves empty and routines collapse when the flow of goods is interrupted. And yet, instead of learning from the disruption, many doubled down on seeking greater convenience, trusting that someone will keep the system running. This is the hidden cost of an overly protective environment. It breeds dependency disguised as security. The safety net becomes a hammock. The more layers of convenience we stack, the more fragile we become if even one layer tears. This fragility is not just physical, but psychological. We are losing the mental frameworks needed to adapt in real time. In crises, people panic not merely because of the event itself, but because they cannot imagine life beyond their accustomed conditions. The Stoics understood that safety is not the absence of danger, it is the presence of capability. Modern systems have inverted this truth. They convince us that the absence of discomfort is the same as safety, when in fact it is the perfect recipe for vulnerability. Seneca would urge us to see the invisible cage, the comfort that feels like protection, but is in fact dependency's warm embrace. Consider the way we approach knowledge. Search engines answer questions in seconds. Cloud storage preserves our memories. Navigation apps think for us. This outsourcing of effort feels efficient until the day it isn't available. What happens when the tool breaks and the skill has long since atrophied? In Seneca's world, and in much of human history, survival demanded an unbroken chain between knowledge and execution. In ours, the chain is outsourced, and the link of personal competence grows thinner with each passing year. And this isn't merely about apocalyptic scenarios or prepper fantasies, it's about everyday resilience. Systems fail on small scales all the time. A network outage at work, a shipping delay before a crucial deadline, a sudden illness that disrupts routine. In each case, the prepared adapt quickly, while the unprepared wait passively for the system to resume its function. Those who have trained themselves through voluntary hardship are not shaken. They have rehearsed resourcefulness in environments stripped of predictability. This is the illusion we must dismantle. That comfort built on layers of protection is strength. It is not. It is a glass sword, impressive, shimmering, and useless the moment it strikes something real. Only by stepping deliberately outside these systems, even briefly, do we regain the instincts and capabilities that modern life quietly smothers. If comfort dulls the edge and systems make us dependent, the next step is to rewire the very mechanism that drives our daily choices, desire. Most people live as if comfort is the default goal, and discomfort is the tax they must reluctantly pay to reach it. This operating system of the mind ensures that at every fork in the road, they choose the path of least resistance, not because it's wise, but because it feels safe. Seneca would say this is the fundamental error. The Stoic project was never about erasing desire, but about reshaping it so that we longed for the very things that strengthened us. For the Stoics, the measure of a person's wisdom was their ability to align what they wanted with what reality demanded. The untrained mind craves ease. The disciplined mind craves challenge, because it knows that challenge is the forge in which competence, courage, and self-respect are made. In this way, the Stoic redefinition of desire is not about suppressing pleasure, but about shifting its source from passive consumption to active mastery. Visually, this is represented by a compass whose needle slowly turns from pointing toward a golden couch to pointing toward a steep, sunlit mountain. Modern neuroscience echoes this ancient insight. Pleasure is fleeting. Achievement and growth, though harder to obtain, produce deeper and more lasting satisfaction. The problem is that we have designed an environment where shallow pleasures are available in infinite supply, scrolling through curated feeds, ordering comfort food, binge-watching distractions. These activities spike dopamine in the short term, but they never build the kind of reward circuits that sustain mental toughness. Over time, this erodes the very will to face difficulty. To reverse this, one must engage in a kind of inner sabotage, turning the mind against its own default wiring. The first step is exposure. Seek out the situations you habitually avoid. If you dislike public speaking, volunteer to lead a presentation. If you fear physical exhaustion, sign up for a physically demanding task. The second step is reframing. Learn to associate the presence of discomfort with the future presence of strength. Instead of thinking, "I hate this," train yourself to think, "This is the raw material of my becoming." This mental rewiring also demands a conscious audit of what you celebrate. In a comfort-obsessed culture, we tend to reward speed, ease, and instant gratification. The Stoic alternative is to celebrate endurance, patience, and persistence, even in small acts. This shift in value perception begins to feed a feedback loop. You start to want what challenges you, and you start to feel uneasy when life offers only softness. Seneca's own life illustrates this transformation. Despite his political entanglements and wealth, he constantly returned to practices that tested his self-sufficiency. By doing so, he maintained an inner readiness for exile, loss, or poverty, conditions that could strike anyone in Rome without warning. His desire was not fixed on preserving a comfortable position, but on preserving the internal capacity to withstand its loss. In today's terms, this means building not just a savings account of money, but a savings account of resilience. When your desire system is rewired, the temporary pain of a difficult choice becomes less threatening than the long-term corrosion of an easy one. You begin to measure success not by how much comfort you accumulate, but by how little you need to stay strong. And here lies the paradox. Once you genuinely desire challenge, comfort stops being a trap. It becomes a tool, a place to rest, not a place to live. In a world where most will cling to ease until it betrays them, those who embrace hardship will find themselves in a position of rare advantage. The battlefield of life favors not the most comfortable, but the most conditioned. Rewiring desire is only half the battle. The other half is the daily embodiment of those values in a world that constantly tempts you to forget them. This is where living the Stoic edge becomes both an art and a discipline. Seneca's philosophy was not meant to be admired from a distance. It was a set of tools to be sharpened every day, especially when the temptation to dull them was strongest. The Stoic edge is not about reckless self-denial or theatrical hardship. It's about maintaining readiness. Think of it as carrying a blade you keep honed, even during peace, because you know peace is never permanent. This requires consistent, small acts of resistance against the gravitational pull of comfort. It might mean beginning your day with a task you least want to do, speaking truth in a meeting where silence would be safer, or taking the longer, harder route when an easier one is available. Over time, these choices form a quiet but unshakable foundation of strength. Visually, this is represented by a solitary figure walking against a slow-moving crowd, their shadow long and defined in the morning light. In a soft world, such behavior appears strange. Most will not understand why you choose to test yourself when you don't have to. They will see only the surface, skipping indulgences, enduring discomfort, and mistake it for needless difficulty. But you will know the truth. Each voluntary test inoculates you against the involuntary ones life will eventually deliver. The moment you step away from this practice, the edge begins to rust. This is where modern application becomes urgent. Our society rewards short-term optimization, making it easy to drift into habits that save seconds today but cost resilience tomorrow. Subscription services anticipate your needs before you articulate them. Predictive algorithms decide your preferences before you explore them. The Stoic edge demands you interrupt this automation, not because it is evil, but because it lulls you into dependency. Choosing to walk rather than drive, to learn a manual skill, or to memorize essential information without a device may seem inefficient, but inefficiency is often the training ground for capability. The deeper reward of this lifestyle is the quiet confidence it builds. When others panic in uncertainty, you remain composed, not because you are immune to fear, but because you have rehearsed the unknown. You know the taste of hunger, the sting of cold, the weight of silence. You have lived without the very things most people cannot imagine losing, and you have learned you can still move forward. Seneca believed that such preparedness was not just for personal survival, but for moral integrity. A person who can endure without begging for comfort cannot be bribed or coerced as easily. They are free in a way the perpetually comfortable are not. This is the ultimate reason to live on the Stoic edge. It is not merely about self-improvement, but about self-liberation. And so, the practice becomes cyclical. Discomfort strengthens you. Strength reduces fear. Reduced fear grants freedom. And freedom allows you to choose discomfort again without resentment. In a society where most live in a constant negotiation with their own fears, the person who embraces this cycle walks with a rare and visible authority. They are prepared not only for the fall of systems, but for the subtler tests of integrity, loyalty, and resolve. The harsh truth is that the comfort you hold most dear is the same comfort that will betray you. It will betray you in moments of crisis, in seasons of loss, and in the quiet erosion of your will. Seneca understood that life does not reward those who cling to ease. It rewards those who can move through difficulty without breaking. That is why he urged us to court discomfort while we still have the choice, to rehearse for hardship before the curtain rises on the real performance. In the end, the comfort trap is not about couches or climate control. It is about the slow surrender of sovereignty over your own mind and body. Every time you choose the softer path without thought, you hand over a piece of your resilience to the world around you. Piece by piece, choice by choice, you become someone who cannot stand without the supports you have grown used to. But there is another path. Live the Stoic edge, and you carry your strength within you. No system, no storm, no sudden loss can take it away. The question is not whether hardship will come, it will. The question is whether you will already be ready when it does.